Peace, everyone. Welcome to Parlez with Sensei Shui. And today we will be working on helping friends. Helping friends. So, it's a podcast idea I got from one of my good friends. And basically, it's just a Q&A with Sensei Shui. And we're going to go ahead, get started, because I know during this time of quarantine, everyone's kind of locked in their houses, not encouraged to really have human interaction as much, so thus more reason to talk about it. So the first question I have from Chili Gaudi 6 is, how do I stay sane during quarantine? So the way to stay sane during quarantine, believe it or not, is if you have a cluttered space, is to clean your space. Because akin to everything, as above, so below, you hear me say that a lot. What that basically means is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you find yourself really cluttered in your mind, most likely your space, your physical space that you occupy, is cluttered as well. So what you can do for that is like literally clear out your space, and if it's overwhelming, take segments at a time. Like start with one corner, go to the next corner, take your breaks. Hello everyone, welcome to Parlez with Sensei Shui, answering the question on how do I stay sane during quarantine. Because I know a lot of us got cabin fever, all up in the homes, don't really know what to do. And so the biggest thing that you can do is clear your physical space. And by doing that, take chunks of time to do it. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to do everything at once. That's kind of setting yourself up for failure. What I'm really big on doing is set yourself up for success. Pick that one corner of your room and address that today. Tomorrow, hit the next one. The next one. Next day, Thursday, hit that one. Friday, hit the closet. And then what happened in a week? You got everything done. And you'll notice that your mind is starting to become more clear once you do so. And on top of that, I like to journal. I'm really big on that. We all have this extra time. I have journal prompts, but you don't even need that. You could just go through my feed and see what questions I ask that you want to answer to yourself. During this time, if you find yourself losing your sanity during quarantine, I highly encourage you to journal. Write down your thoughts. Write down what you're going through. Write down why you might not feel so good inside. Why I say that is because you want to reflect and notice about what you're doing. Notice how you're going through. And especially during all this, from Andrew Torres, he asked, how do you separate truth from fact? So the biggest way that you can separate truth from fact is the best metric I like to use is the heart. I know that sounds super like wooey, but for real, once you start to learn to listen to yourself and become in tune with yourself, will you be able to tell the difference on what you're being fed, if it is, I won't say a lie, but it's something that's using your emotions to cloud your own judgment. So of course you could research, but with that, with anything with statistics, if someone knows what they're doing, they can really shift the metrics and the statistics to get to say what they say. For example, like here in the United States, there's a lot of people sick that have this virus. Peace, grand risings, good morning. During this time, you see a lot of facts, you could say, blown out of proportions. For example, when you look at, the United States and how many people are sick in the country, and this isn't to sound morbid or anything, but they make it seem like 85, 90,000 people is a whole lot, but you do a percentage. If you do 90,000 divided by 307 million, it's not even 1%. In fact, it's not even 0.1%. But it is important to stay at home and not spread stuff, but at the same time, don't lock yourself in your house. Go outside. The earth, if you've noticed, the earth is healing during this time. In Venice, you could see the canals, the ozone layers are starting to close up. In the same way, this extra time we've been granted is more time for us to go within and heal ourselves. It's more time for us to go within and finally do some meditation that we always said that we would do. It is now time for us to address those uncomfortable aspects of our personalities and face ourselves. And with that, as we clean ourselves from MRST33Z, he's asking, how do you flush heavy metals or toxins from your body? So the way that you flush heavy metals and toxins from your body is chlorella or spirulina, and of course, an enzyme surplus. So when you eat in an enzyme surplus, what that does is help use your own body to get everything else that you don't want out of it. But if you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? A nice way to do that is if you eat collard greens and sweet potatoes, or if you put white onions and green peppers together, that creates a enzyme surplus in your body. A lot of that's like, wait, isn't that soul food? Like, yes, it's actually soul food. It's good for you. Don't cook them until they're nothing. But what those actually do is create an enzyme surplus in your body, which helps you eliminate toxins as well as heavy metals. Something I did as well is I started out with a fast. So I did a fast for about 3 to 5 days. If you've never fasted before, just get into intermittent fasting. What that does is help cleanse the body, help keep the digestive system clean of everything. Yeah, you could tell, she wants attention. But it helps keep the digestive system clean. And especially things like chlorella or spirulina are known for helping get heavy metals and those free radicals outside of the body and cleansing them. If you don't know what it is, it's chlorella, CHORELLA, or spirulina. Both of those help remove heavy metals and toxins from the body. And plus with that, if you don't have a water filter, I highly encourage you invest in one, because sometimes you could do all these things, but where do the heavy metals come from? They come from the air and they come from our water supply. In addition, you want to be mindful of the amount of fish and seafood consumption you have, because of all the trash and recycling that goes into the ocean. It ends up in fish because they breathe the water, right? So fish breathe the water, and if you remember from like the Tokyo spills and everything, there's still radiation in the water. There's still heavy metals from companies not handling recycling properly. And where does that go? It gets into the fish. So if you want to flush your body of heavy metals and toxins, I would encourage you to eat less seafood, just because to be mindful of the situation we live in currently, that our oceans aren't as clean as they used to be, and that there are some heavy metals in there. And of course, before any of that, fish are known to be higher in mercury, which is a heavy metal. So if you want to flush heavy metals from your body, chlorella, spirulina, and reduce the consumption of seafood in your diet, because there is mercury in seafood, which is a heavy metal. And Natalia, you got on at just the right time. So Natalia Lynette asks, we're caught in the battle between human and spirit. What's your thoughts? So for this, I could go on. This could have an episode all by itself for this. But basically, how I feel between, you could say, this battle between the divinity that you have within and being in this human suit. So getting into that, realize that you are not the body. You live inside the body. All right. And so with it, you got to realize that this is something that you drive. If you ever had a background in Christianity, they say the body is your temple. Well, that's true because you live in it, and you should treat it with respect and reverence, because that's what you dwell inside of. That is the yantra. Is something I'm wearing on my chest. This is a yantra. A yantra is a Sanskrit word to mean a vessel or a vehicle, right? That you drive with karma. So car is a Sanskrit word that means action. And that's why we drive around cars, right? It's really interesting when you see these connections of words. But how do you say cope with this separation? But I like to say it's a unity, because I would highly encourage you to look up the trailer for the Pixar film Soul. But for that, it brings awareness to when you're in your energy form, that you can't smell, taste, hear, or touch anything, or at least in the same way that you can hear. You incarnated here with the intention purpose to experience this dimension. So trying to separate yourself, actually, it seems like it would bring you more peace, but at the same time, you'll fight this urge, because at the end of the day, you came here to interact with humanity. You came here to participate in reality. You came here to have an influence and have your actions have a greater magnitude of influence than they could if you're just a spinning ball of like Merkaba energy, you know? So in this way, what I like to do is, one, you feed your soul by doing what? Meditation. Meditation can be sitting, doing that type of stuff, or just walking and being mindful of your steps, the feeling of your feet on the ground, breathing in for 5 steps, breathing out for 5 steps, leaving the phone at home, giving that time to really build up your energy body. Practice Qigong, practice Tai Chi, draw, paint, sit there and reflect. Or even for meditation, you could check out my SoundCloud, my YouTube, my Patreon, anything. You could just message me straight up and I will help guide you in some meditations. In fact, even on this channel, I do guided meditations at times. And in fact, when you listen to this recorded, there will be a short guided meditation at the end of all these podcasts. And so the best way how I like to balance this spirituality and the physicality is realize that you need to feed the energy body just like you feed your physical body. You'll start to feel the separation or hunger once one of them starts to starve. So that's when it's like, okay, if you didn't eat for a while and you were neglecting yourself emotionally or something, Bowspring 2 works. Any type of yoga or practice to help feed yourself and build up that awareness within. So it's just like if you don't eat for a little bit, you start to hunger and crave some things because it's like, hey, I'm not feeding this, what's going on? Likewise, if you're not meditating or doing yoga or whatever your spiritual practice is, and you take that out, what starts to happen? You start to crave it and feel this like weird separation about like, man, I've been watching TV and eating this food and I got these urges. I don't really know what's going on. Well, balance that within yourself. And I encourage you with this duality to accept it, right? It's like, how can you shine a light and expect a shadow not to come? In the same way, how can you expect to be spiritual yet deny everything that's going on around us? At this time when people are maybe freaking out or uneasy, do your best to be that calm in the storm. Be the eye in the storm. The eye in the storm is the one place where everything around it is going like ape, going super crazy, but the eye is that one place of clarity in the midst of all the chaos going on, to bring that foresight, to bring that insight, to bring that calm, the cool and the collectiveness into the situation. So I highly encourage you do that and be that by how investing in yourself, your peace of mind and your time through meditation, reflection, journaling, and feeding that energy body. And from this old ons, I really have no idea how to say it. But in this time of quarantine, how do you keep yourself from going mad being indoors all day? Very similar to Chili Gaudy 6's question of how do I stay sane during quarantine? So at this time, realize that you may be indoors, but you're not restricted to the point, other countries may be a little different, but you're, at least in the United States, you're not restricted to the point where you can't walk outside and go to the park or walk around your apartment complex or something. Being locked indoors all day, yeah, it does have that tendency to make you go there, but Realize that the earth is healing at this time. Go outside, take a walk, try meditation outside, try yoga outside, try bowspring outside, try qigong outside. Try just going outside, leaving your phone inside, and letting your thoughts kind of wander as you walk around and enjoy the breeze, as you enjoy the sunlight, as it starts to get warm, or at least in the north hemisphere, and if you're in the south hemisphere, as things start to cool down, notice the shift of seasons that are occurring. And to kind of transition into this, to kind of transition into all of this, you want to make sure that you're doing what serves you. You're doing what builds you up. Because oftentimes, before this, you might realize that you were doing things that didn't serve you. You were being told, oh, I need to do this, so you did this. You're told, oh, you need to go here, this is good for you, so you did this. Without reflecting and listening within to, what is it that I wanted to do? What is it that I always said, oh yeah, I would do this if I had time. Oh yeah, I'd do this if only I do. Well, now we are granted time. Also, simultaneously, the vibration of the earth is rising. You could Google Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance. SCHUMANN resonance. RESONANCE. Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance is shifting, which Schumann resonance is the vibration that the earth has. Just like everything has vibes, if the words I'm saying, if you look it out, you could plot it out on a graph. Just like my dog in the background, all these little vibrations, even your phone in the rooms have a vibrational frequency they resonate at. Likewise does the earth in response to the sun. So interesting with all these words, right? So the sun's corona, so the corona is the crown of the sun, which gives off solar flares. About 2-3 weeks ago, there was a huge solar flare that came up that raised the vibration of the earth from that Schumann resonance of 7.83 to something around 60. All right. So when it did that, there was this shift in the frequency on the planet. And just like with anything raises, what happens? Things get sick. There's like a virus or some type of pandemic that happens. This happened in the 20s with the Spanish flu as well. I'm pretty sure you could look back and see that there were some shifts in time. If you see any that was right before the Roaring 20s, right? So before this is a necessary setback for this reaction of energy to take place for the rest of the decade. At this time, it's necessary to reset and go out. I found Sadhguru said something that I really agreed with. He was like, most people do all this yoga stuff backwards, right? So they go out and they do this stuff and they get all crazy. And then they go in. It's like, you know what? It's actually time to get calm. It's actually time to practice yoga. But when it should be the reverse, where first it's like, you know what? Before I tackle all these things, before I go to work, before I, go back into the world, let me settle myself inside, practice my yoga. Yoga, Sanskrit word meaning divine connection. Let me connect to myself, become still. Find my center, and then go out into the world, and then spread this vibration I'm at, and then let the world just kind of beat me down. But first, I built myself up, knowing that I'll have to give these parts of myself as I go without. Going back to Natalia Lynette's question of this duality between spirit and human world, how do you balance it? By realizing it's like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, where it's like, all right, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do that. Just like, I say women is a great example, just like when you're a mother or something like that, or you have any type of role, you have to take care of a child. There's a world for that child that you fulfill and something that you do for them. But then once they're at school, they're doing their thing, it's like, boom, strap on another hat, right? Put on another personality, whatever you need to do to accomplish the mission, the job that's at hand. In the same way with spirituality, first to center yourself, feed the soul, let the higher self come down through, all right, the 7 chakra, right? Sahasrara, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it is, or Svat. Yeah, I always. But anyway, the seventh chakra. When you look it up, you could say seven chakra pictures. Google it. It looks like a flower, right? Or it looks like, how I like to say now, a satellite dish. To allow that satellite dish to receive what you need for the day, what you got to do first is be still, trust yourself, and know that that will come in. Feed yourself from the top down. Fill yourself in. How do you pour water in? You pour it in from the top, right? You pour it in from the top to be filled, and then give it away as you go throughout your day, because that's the nature of existence. Right? And so with all that, I'm going to be closing out. I have no idea how long this has been going on. I also have some other questions. So when you listen to this, there's going to be like a little switch. It's going to be on SoundCloud, and I'll see about getting on Spotify and other platforms. But in the meantime, I'm grateful for everyone that participated, and especially for your questions. In the future, I'll be doing this every Monday. So in the future, I'll do this on like YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. See how I can get it done at the same time. The replay will be available on YouTube. And please share with your friends. And when I ask, put out something for questions, you could ask more than one. You don't just have to ask one. Until it becomes like I get, like 50 questions and stuff. Then one's going to be like, all right, well, I'll get to your question when I get there. But in the meantime, I need as many questions as I could get. So if you're super curious, or you just want to know my perspective on some things, y'all, whoever asks the questions, that controls the agenda and where the show and where this all goes. So I'll see you next time. Have a nice day. And namaste. Yeah.